Shadow? Chu Shu looked towards the shadow of the container. With a thought, that shadow immediately twisted. Gradually solidified. Finally turned into a soldier wielding dual blades. The soldier was completely black, except for those dual blades, emitting a barely noticeable cold light. Come. The shadow soldier communicated with Chu Shu through their thoughts. A thought. The other party walked over. Chu Shu observed the shadow soldier up close, then reached his hand into it. The next second, the shadow soldier disappeared, and the shadow transformed into a pitch-black sword, which Chu Shu drew out. So this is your power, Sarko? Indeed, very powerful. Chu Shu let go. The sword instantly disappeared. Transformed into a shadow and returned to its original position. Definitely. Hearing Chu Shu praise himself. The shadow demon nodded in agreement. It didn't realize that Chu Shu had already started calling it by its name, but instead, it was very happy. Because it would soon obtain the power of the demon. The shadow demon didn't know why a human would possess such pure demonic power, pure enough to almost become the fundamental power of a dimension. But it knew, as long as it obtained this power, it could break through the barrier between two dimensions, leading the shadow dimension to devour the hell dimension represented by this demonic power. Once this happened, I will have the opportunity to ascend to the Dimension Lord. The shadow demon was extremely excited, as if it had already seen the day when it became a Dimension Lord. Human, I have already given you a part of my power. Now it's your turn, the shadow demon spoke. But the response it received was silence. Where is it? Where is the power you gave me? Chu Shu shrugged. The system prompt had already sounded in his ears. Ding. Abnormal energy detected. The exorcism system has successfully purified it for you. When this ding sounded, Chu Shu knew that he no longer owed the shadow demon anything. You said your power is inside me, right? Then call it. Let's see if it responds. I didn't just. The shadow demon suddenly froze, because it really couldn't sense its own power anymore. On the body of this human in front of it, there was clearly a large amount of shadow power, but it seemed to have nothing to do with it anymore. You deceived me. The belatedly angry shadow demon erupted, and the shadows of all the objects around it turned into countless terrifying monsters. At first, Chu Shu wanted to resist a bit, to see if he could snatch control of the shadows around him from the shadow demon. But obviously, his power was just a tiny bit lacking. So you still had a trick up your sleeve, huh? Chu Shu laughed and cursed. Hee hee, foolish human. Do you think I would give you all my power? The shadow demon sneered, and all the monsters around them surrounded Chu Shu. I will let you know what kind of consequences there are for deceiving a great dimensional Mephisto. Before the word, consequences, could be spoken, a white light flashed. Chu Shu activated the exorcism array he had set up in advance. System produced, as always, powerful. Only a flash of white light was seen, and all the shadow monsters disappeared in an instant, along with the shadow demon. Hey, you think you're the only one who has a trick up your sleeve? Chu Shu clapped his hands. There was not a trace of the shadow demon's presence around. It was as if the other party had never appeared. With the disappearance of the shadow demon, Chu Shu instantly gained control over the shadows of all the surrounding objects. Dimension Mephisto, huh? You're not even a Dimension Lord, how dare you imitate Dormammu and the others? Thinking about how the shadow demon referred to itself as Dimension Mephisto, Chu Shu couldn't help but mock it in his heart. Just then, the system prompt sounded again. Ding. Achievement unlocked. First time banishing a dimension demon. Congratulations on receiving the achievement reward. Title, Heavenly Decree. Entry 1. No need for rituals, your words are the law. Speaking the demon's true name completes the summoning. Entry 2. The demon summoned by you has the right to refuse to come. So that means, I don't need to mess with blood or body parts anymore, those messy sacrifices. Just knowing the name is enough. Seeing the description of the achievement reward, Chu Shu's eyes lit up. No need for sacrifices, no need for rituals. Doesn't that mean he can summon whoever he wants? It wasn't until he saw the content of entry 2 that Chu Shu calmed down. Well, it's not like he can summon whoever he wants, it still depends on whether the other party is willing to come. But no matter what, this is much better than before. In that case, even if I can't understand the ancient parchment given by the Ancient One, I can still summon. Chu Shu remembered the parchment given by the Ancient One that recorded the Dimension Lords. It was filled with ancient pictographic characters. Completely incomprehensible. But now, it doesn't matter if I can't understand, Just knowing the name is enough. Oh right, what did the Ancient One call it? Kua? Kua-si? No, Kua-jie? Kua-jie-si? Chu-shu muttered to himself. And just as he blurted out the 3 words, Kua-jie-si, boom, an inexplicable pressure descended. Countless tentacles and densely packed eyeballs instantly filled the entire warehouse, boundless terror. Pressing in from all directions, F*K. I actually summoned it, I haven't even set up the demon banishing formation yet. Just as Chu-shu was in a panic, preparing to set up the demon banishing ritual, that terrible pressure disappeared in an instant. Came fast. Went fast too. Those tentacles and eyeballs seemed to be just illusions. All disappeared, and the warehouse returned to its original state. Kua-jie-si didn't appear at all. The Ancient One said this guy was sealed. It seems to be true. Chu-shu wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Damn, I almost summoned a Dimension Lord, and without any preparation. I can't randomly call names in the future. Chu-shu, still trembling, shook his head and walked towards the exit of the warehouse. Just as he took a few steps out of the warehouse. No, what's going on over there? Where is this strong demonic power coming from? Chu-shu had just stepped out of the warehouse. He immediately sensed the aura of demonic power coming from the New York City area. And some of those auras were quite familiar. It seemed like the group of demons he had summoned before. Really? As this? Someone coming to collect debts? Didn't the Ancient One say that it's difficult to cross the barriers between dimensions? How did these demons collectively come to Earth? Chu-shu didn't know the price these hell demons had to pay to come to Earth for a visit. He only knew that his creditors would likely have made a wasted trip. You want to collect debts? You better have the ability to do so. Just by casually setting up an exorcism array, he could send these demons back to where they came from. But then again, they came all the way here, should I show some hospitality? Chu-shu rubbed his chin. He wondered if he should take this opportunity to cooperate with other demons he hadn't worked with before. After all, among the many demonic auras that came from the city, Chu-shu sensed a very powerful presence. Most likely, it was the Hell Lord that the Ancient One mentioned. Let's go take a look. If it doesn't work out, we can just send them back. Chu-shu planned to join in the fun. He wasn't worried about being surrounded and beaten up by these hell demons. After all, they were looking for Mo-du, who used demonic power. What does that have to do with me, Chu-shu, who uses shadow power? After making up his mind, Chu-shu put on the sling ring and opened a portal. This time, he didn't use demonic power, but shadow energy. The familiar circular portal did not appear. Chu-shu thought he had failed. Suddenly, a circle of darkness appeared under his feet, as if a black hole was swallowing Chu-shu whole, burying him underground. The next moment, the same black hole appeared in downtown New York. Chu-shu was enveloped in a mass of dark energy, slowly emerging from the black hole. You can do it like this. Looking at the devastated streets around him, Chu-shu knew that he had successfully teleported. For him, the experience just now was like stepping into thin air while sleeping. Suddenly weightless, and then the next second, firmly on the ground, appearing at the destination. Turning around, Chu-shu began to observe the surrounding environment. Everything was in ruins. Ruins were everywhere. If it weren't for the few iconic buildings in the distance, Chu-shu would have suspected that he had been transported to some war-torn Middle Eastern country. Well, no breakfast tomorrow. Not far away was the breakfast shop he had eaten at this morning. Now it had turned into a pile of rubble. Fortunately, Chu-shu didn't find any human bodies in the ruins. It seemed that the Chinese lady had evacuated early. As long as people are safe, it's not easy for America to have authentic Chinese breakfast. Chu-shu didn't want anything to happen to that lady. Roar! There's a human here. At this moment, 2 winged hell demons noticed Chu-shu, who had suddenly appeared, and immediately swooped down. Who cares if I'm called a human? Chu-shu felt the pitiful amount of demonic power in these 2 demons. The combined power of the 2 demons was not even 1/10 of his own. And they have the nerve to call me a human? I'm more like a demon than you are. Swish, swish, Chu-shu waved his hand. The shadow of a collapsed building next to him instantly turned into 2 pitch-black spears, impaling the 2 demons that were swooping down onto a distant skyscraper. 1 strike, 1 kill. As a fellow wielder of demonic power, Chu-shu was well aware of the weaknesses of these hell demons. Well, it seems like things are getting lively over there. Solving the ambush of the two demons, Chu Shu heard the intense explosion not far away. He looked up. 3 F-22 fighter jets whizzed by. I didn't expect the efficiency of the fungus to be so high in a place without oil. Just as Chu Shu finished speaking, suddenly, a crescent-shaped blade made of hellfire flashed by. Boom boom boom, 3 F-22s exploded in succession. They disintegrated in the air, leaving nothing behind. Never mind what I just said, Chu Shu retracted his previous statement. You bunch of freeloaders. Can't you aim properly? On the other side, Tony Stark crawled out of the crater with a dirty face. The missile was originally aimed at Ballast, but it dodged. So, Tony was unlucky and suffered the consequences. Sir, Mark 15 Sneaky has been destroyed. Tony crawled out of the hole. Jarvis's voice kept ringing in his ears. Mark 39 Gemini has been destroyed. Mark 33 Silver Centurion has been destroyed. Mark 35 Red Snapper. Mark 37 Hammerhead. Mark 38 Igor. Every reminder from Jarvis meant that a suit worth hundreds of millions of dollars had been blown up like fireworks. But Tony didn't care about any of this. After activating the party protocol, all the suits currently made by Tony Stark were under the control of Jarvis's AI and joined the battle. But it still couldn't turn the tide of the battle. Because Ballast was just too powerful. Boom. Hulk fell from the sky. His green body was covered in wounds. Although Ballast's warblade was not as powerful as Thor's hammer or Odin's eternal spear. But it was far from ordinary. One slash. Even the tough-skinned Hulk would be cut open. I'll hold him back. No, I haven't. With the assistance of two Jarvis-controlled suits, Captain America barely exchanged blows with Ballast. Just when he thought he was about to activate his passive skill of being able to go 50-50 with anyone, Ballast made a slash, and Captain America fell from the sky. The powerful impact almost made Captain America lose his grip on his shield. No, this is completely ineffective against it. Black Widow spat out a mouthful of blood. But forget about Ballast. She couldn't even defeat the weakest low-level demon. The huge gap in strength made everyone feel despair. The addition of the military couldn't change anything. If they couldn't win, they couldn't win. Buzz. Just when everyone was in despair, a golden circular portal appeared on the battlefield. Immediately after, a bald black man wearing Kamar Taj robes walked out of the portal. Daniel Drum, he was one of the 3 holy places, an Asgardian from the New York holy place. I'll find a way to restrain it, you guys attack when the opportunity arises. As soon as Daniel appeared, he cast protective and light body spells on every member of the Avengers Alliance present. In an instant, everyone was enveloped in a layer of golden light. At the same time, everyone felt much lighter. They could jump more than 10 meters high. This was a way to make up for the flaw of Captain America and others not being able to fly. Wait? Is it just my eyes playing tricks on me? Or did that guy really release magic on us like the necromancer in an animated film? The appearance of the magician caused Tony Stark's worldview to collapse a bit. Still came. Seeing a magician arriving, Ballast didn't find it strange. After all, these magicians claim to be the protectors of Earth. It would be strange if they didn't come. Why didn't the Ancient One come? Or is it that she sent you here to die? Ballast looked disdainfully at Daniel. Although they were both great magicians, Daniel's strength was slightly weaker than the king's. Naturally, he couldn't enter the eyes of Ballast, this level sub-godfather powerhouse. The Sorcerer Supreme already knows what you've done. You will soon meet her as you wished. Daniel pretended to be imposing, putting on a stance of, you're going to die. My big brother is coming soon. But in reality, he himself wasn't sure, because before this, he had already contacted the Ancient One. The response he received was strange. The Ancient One only replied with, let that kid solve the trouble he caused himself. Since Daniel had been stationed at the holy place in New York all along, he was unaware of what Chu Shu had done at Kamar Taj. That kid? How would I know who that kid is? Daniel was helpless. He couldn't find the kid mentioned by the Ancient One, so he could only face it head-on. Don't pretend to be powerful. If the Ancient One could come, she would have come long ago. Don't think I don't know. She can no longer control that power. Ballast saw through Daniel's lie. But as for why the Ancient One didn't come, he clearly guessed wrong. He thought that the Ancient One couldn't come because she couldn't control the dark energy within her and was preoccupied. The Ancient One can't even protect herself. Thinking of this, Bellist burst into wild laughter. The reason he had been entangled with these humans who called themselves Avengers for so long was actually to guard against the Ancient One. Otherwise, he would have killed these weak humans long ago. But now, without the Ancient One, the Earth is mine. Bellist laughed heartily, no longer needing to consider anything. He directly unleashed his firepower towards Daniel. In response, Daniel could only barely withstand it with a stiff upper lip. Shield of Seraphim, Wind of Vthum, Ancient Body of Hoggoth. One powerful magic after another was released. Although it was dazzling, it was all for defense. And it was a very difficult defense. Is this all the strength you have? Bellist became even more arrogant, while it was attacking Daniel like crazy. Not far from the battlefield, a young Asian man walked leisurely with a cell phone in hand. Unlike the tense atmosphere around him, this young man seemed to be on a sightseeing trip. Taking photos while walking. Why does this human look a bit familiar? Soon, a demon noticed this human. Mordo. He's Mordo. I found Mordo, accompanied by a roar. It was as if a drop of water had fallen into scalding hot oil. The demons instantly exploded. In an instant, all the demons except Bellist turned their gaze towards him. Those pairs of eyes were filled with bloodthirstiness. Hatred, boundless hatred, hatred that wanted to devour a person alive. Hello, everyone. Long time no see, how are you all doing? Seeing that his identity had been recognized, Chu Shu smiled awkwardly and greeted the demons. Unexpectedly, these demons had quite good memories. I have avoided using demonic power myself, but as a result, I was recognized because of my appearance. Mo Du, you damn it. The demons roared angrily, shaking the heavens and the earth. Even Daniel couldn't help but turn his head to take a glance. Mo Du is here. This kid isn't studying at Kamar Taj, why is he here? Daniel's voice paused, because he didn't see Mo Du. He only saw an Asian youth whom he didn't recognize at all. And those enraged demons also mistook this youth for Mo Du. Could it be that he is also called Mo Du? Before Daniel could figure it out? Bella's next attack followed. You dare to be distracted while fighting me. Bella felt that his status as a level sub-godfather was being insulted. Roaring, he slashed open Daniel's magic shield. And also split open Daniel's left scapula. If Daniel hadn't reacted quickly and used a teleportation spell to dodge this slash, I'm afraid it would have cut him in half directly. Hiss, Daniel endured the intense pain. Whether it's Mo Du or not is no longer important. When fighting Bella, he cannot be the slightest bit distracted. On the other side, Chu Shu also tasted bitterness. Because he found that his old customers seemed unwilling to reminisce with him. Each and every one of them only wanted to kill him, and then eat him. Alright, since you don't cherish our past relationship, don't blame me for being impolite. After Chu Shu finished speaking, he took the initiative to attack these demons. Although he had a card in his pocket with a demon expelling ritual already prepared. Chu Shu didn't use it, but instead intended to fight these demons with real weapons. Mad, one human after another, I really want to see how authentic you demons are. After Chu Shu finished speaking, the demonic power within him erupted without reservation for the first time. Enormous, evil, the uncomfortable energy instantly overwhelmed the entire scene. The enormous aura immediately became the second most powerful presence on the battlefield, second only to Bella. The powerful aura stunned the demons collectively for a second, immediately followed by an overwhelming rage. All of that is our power, damn it. Let's fight him. The demons rushed forward. And Chu Shu instantly transformed in that moment. Demonization, and it was complete demonization. Chu Shu's body instantly swelled, reaching a height of nearly 3 meters. His eyes turned crimson. His hands turned into dragon-like claws, and horns grew on top of his head, with red and black scales covering his body. Hot lava slowly flowed along the gaps in the scales, making a sizzling sound. In just an instant, Chu Shu's entire being, from appearance to aura, crushed every demon present. Even Bella, not far away, was outmatched. This kid looks really damn scary. Bella muttered to himself, based on appearance alone. At the moment, Chu Shu looked more like a demon than this group of hell demons. Come on, let's have a good fight, come on. Let's have a good fight. As Chu Shu's voice fell, a pair of wings spread behind him. His whole body rushed into the midst of the demon horde like a sharp sword. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, slash. The first few demons that made contact were instantly torn to pieces by Chushu's claws. Flesh and blood scattered from the sky. You guys are no match either. If you can't do it, why don't you change your name and give me the title of demon? While Chushu spoke, he continued to charge towards other demons. After transforming into his demon form, all his bodily functions were almost doubled. His strength reached an unimaginable level. In the air, Chushu grabbed a winged demon by its wings and tore it in half. Another demon with goat horns on its head had its horns broken off by Chushu, and then he stabbed it into its heart. The battle was simple and direct, incredibly brutal. And every strike was fatal. The severed limbs and arms of the demons fell from the sky like rain. The demons that couldn't fly suffered even more. Whenever Chushu dived down from the sky, he would create an area filled with severed limbs and arms. Like an eagle entering a chicken coop, a scene of bloodshed. Just now, did this guy walk past me? Not far away, Captain America and the others who witnessed this scene were all dumbfounded. Especially Black Widow, she had just seen Chushu walk past her. With a smile on his face, he even greeted the other demons. And then came this brutal scene. Yes, brutal. Even for demons, this kind of death was too brutal. If I heard correctly, he seems to be Mordo, as mentioned by these demons? Tony Stark looked at the bloody scene unfolding in the sky, completely stunned. Literally a scene of bloodshed. These hell demons that they struggled to kill one by one. Now, they were being easily slaughtered like little chicks by that terrifying presence. Shield helicarrier. Nick Fury's mood was like a roller coaster, up and down. Picking up and putting down the pager, putting it down and picking it up again. First, the appearance of the mysterious magician, and now this young man named Mordo. The rapid changes in the situation made Nick Fury unable to grasp the direction. He didn't like this at all. And now, looking at Mordo, who looked more like a demon than the demons themselves, Nick Fury finally fell silent. He turned his gaze to the Hill agent beside him. Should we just drop a nuclear bomb? The battle lasted only a few minutes. As more and more demons died, the remaining demons no longer dared to rush forward. Reason gradually overcame anger. They couldn't win. I can't really beat him. Although being deceived made the demons angry, at least they're still alive, right? The current situation is no longer about revenge or not. It's about whether we can survive in the hands of Mo-Du. It's all your fault for lending him so much power. Blame us? You lent him 90% of your power, and you have the nerve to blame others? But didn't you want his soul? Speaking of souls, have we been deceived again? Is this guy really a holy soul? Why do I feel like he has nothing to do with holiness? The demons began to quarrel among themselves. At the same time, they also doubted the holy soul that Chushu possessed. All these scattered limbs and broken arms on the ground, it doesn't look like something a person with a holy soul would do. What's wrong? Aren't we fighting anymore? Chushu, in his demon form, hovered in the air. He spread his arms and looked at the demons. The demons remained silent. They looked around, hoping to find someone willing to sacrifice themselves. But obviously, demons have very similar natures. When one demon chooses to wait and see, others follow suit. Now that we've chosen not to fight, let's forget about our past grievances. If you still want to cooperate with me in the future, no problem. I promise not to deceive you anymore, and don't go around spreading rumors to ruin my reputation. Chushu, still in his demon form, remained suspended in the air. Covered in bloodstains from head to toe. As he spoke, blood and flesh dripped from his body. After I finish speaking, who agrees? Who disagrees? The demons remained silent. Seeing no objections, Chushu looked towards Ballast not far away. In fact, not far away, Ballast was busy beating up Daniel single-handedly. But at the same time, he was also paying attention to this human named Mo-Du. He was curious. What kind of human could manipulate a group of deceitful demons like this? Now, it seems that you can't deceive a human, and you can't beat him either. A bunch of useless trash. Ballast was a little annoyed. After all, they were his subordinates. A group of demons couldn't defeat a human, which would be embarrassing if it spread to other hell dimensions. Thinking of this, Ballast didn't plan to drag it out any longer. He was ready to end it quickly. After all, as a level sub-godfather powerhouse, it would be even more embarrassing if he, a powerful being, was held back by an ordinary human magician. Do you dare to stop me, seeking death? Facing Belast's anger, Daniel, who was already heavily injured, couldn't defend himself anymore. He was almost beheaded. At this critical moment, Daniel noticed a group of dumbfounded Avengers Alliance members below and became even more frustrated. Damn it. Did I cast protective shields and light body spells on you guys just for you to watch the show? Can't you guys help me out? But obviously, the Avengers Alliance members without mind-reading abilities had no idea what Daniel was thinking. At this moment, they were completely shocked by Chushu's battle with the demons. By the time they snapped out of it, Daniel was already overwhelmed. End of translation. Looking at Daniel, who could no longer resist the attacks from Bellerst. The members of the Avengers Alliance finally reacted. Shouldn't we go up and help? What do you think? Tony was the first to react. At this moment, he changed into the Mark 17 Heartbreaker armor. He flew into the air first and fired a shot at Bellerst with the high-caliber particle cannon mounted on his chest. Although this shot didn't cause much damage, the powerful impact of the particle beam interrupted one of Bellerst's attacks. This was the first time Tony had made any impact on Bellerst since the start of the battle. But that was all. Fortunately, Captain America and the others quickly joined the fight. With the blessing of the light body spell, everyone had the powerful jumping ability similar to Hulk's. They leapt more than 10 meters, this compensated for their lack of flight mobility. But it was still useless. The Avengers soon discovered that despite the magic, defense, and mobility they had gained, they still couldn't hurt Bellerst enough. You noisy ants. Bellerst was also annoyed by this group of jumping Avengers. Although the damage was superficial, it was still annoying. In a fit of anger, it turned its attention to the members of the Avengers Alliance. The first one targeted was Tony Stark, who was flying around like a fly. Oh no, seeing the 10-meter-long battle sword pointing at himself. Tony's face stiffened, just as Bellerst was about to attack with the sword. Suddenly, the surroundings darkened. To be precise, the shadows of all the surrounding objects suddenly converged, encircling Bellerst, forming a completely dark area. Roar! Hulk's shadow! Don't run! Seeing his own shadow suddenly running away, the simple-minded Hulk chased after the shadow, until all the shadows gathered. In the air, centered around Bellerst, a huge spherical dark domain formed. This sudden scene left everyone confused. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Daniel also took a breath. He withdrew from the battlefield and began to check his own injuries. It's not this. Tony looked down at his disappearing shadow. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he swallowed his words. What optical phenomenon? What object blocked the propagation of light? Forget about science, he had seen magic, so why would he care if a shadow ran away? Inside the dark domain, Bellerst, who was about to attack with the sword, saw the darkness around him. Slowly put down the sword in his hand. It seems that you have more than one power. Did you deceive others too? Bellerst turned his head and looked in one direction. Soon, a figure walked out of the darkness in that direction. It was Chushu, or should I say, Modu. Bellerst didn't care what this human was called. It was just curious about what this kid was up to. How can you say it's deception? All of that was normal cooperation, just a little accident happened. Chushu, who had already released his demonic form, slowly walked out of the darkness. It seems like you're not here to fight. What do you mean? Are you planning to surrender to me? Seeing Chushu revert from his demonic form, Bellerst sneered. Chushu's strength was formidable even for ordinary demons. But in Bellerst's eyes, it was still nothing special. Chushu was well aware of this. After all, he didn't consume the entire Shadow Demon. Relying only on a portion of the Shadow Demon's power, along with some demonic power obtained from other demons, he wanted to deal with a level sub-godfather, a lord of hell. One could only say, the odds were not in his favor. But Chushu remained calm, completely calm. Because he had a card in his pocket that contained a well-prepared exorcism ritual, ready to be activated at any time. System, can you make my holy soul more apparent? As soon as Chushu finished speaking, a faint holy light appeared behind him. Enveloping his figure, it made him appear extraordinary and immaculate. Well done. Chushu praised the system's operation in his heart. Then he looked at Bellerst. As expected, just as he had anticipated. Bellerst was frozen in place. The Lord of Hell could never have imagined that Chushu would pull off such a trick. The faint holy light seemed to say, look, I really have a holy soul. You really have a holy soul? Before this, Bellist had always believed that the so-called Holy Soul was fake. After all, most of the deceived demons were insignificant characters who had never seen the world. What would they know about a Holy Soul? But now, Bellist's eyes gradually became greedy. You see, the last time a Holy Soul appeared on Earth was over 2,000 years ago. A human named Jesus. Seeing the greedy look in Bellist's eyes, Shu grinned. He was very familiar with that look. Well, in fact, you are my true object of worship. I have performed so many summoning rituals, all to meet you, the great Bellist. Shu's smile froze on his face. Oh no, he forgot. What was this guy's name again? Fortunately, Bellist didn't pay attention to these details. Upon hearing Shu's words, its eyes also lit up. For demons, a soul was not just a mere collectible. It truly determined whether their power could be enhanced. And now, a genuine holy soul was right in front of it. If it could obtain it, Bellist would have a chance to break free from that status and become a true level Godfather powerhouse. Do you want to trade with me? Bellist stared straight at Shu, not hiding its greed in its eyes. Shu was starting to get a little nervous. Did this guy have any other intentions towards me? That's right. Those ordinary demons are not worthy of possessing my soul. That's why I deceived them, because only powerful lords of hell like you deserve to possess the purest soul in the world. Putting aside all the nonsense, Shu began to make up stories. In simple terms, it was something like, Lord Bellist, I have been pure and chaste for so long, all for you. And then he could sell it at a good price, indeed. After listening to Shu's words, Bellistra remained unusually silent for a while. Then asks, so what do you want from me? Not much. Shu waved his hand, just half of it. No, just getting 3 or 4/10 of your power would be enough. 3 or 4/10 of Bellistra's power would already more than double the demonic power within himself. Shu wasn't greedy either. He could deceive. No, trade a little. My 3 or 4/10 of power? Bellistra lowered his head and pondered for a moment. But soon, he raised his head, his greedy eyes unchanged, only with a hint of cruelty. Joking. The purpose of wanting a pure soul is to enhance his strength. To ascend to the level of Godfather, and now you're telling him that in order to obtain a pure soul, he has to give up a part of his power. Isn't this just teasing him? Hey, do you think I'm one of those fools? Bellistra's gaze turned cold. His ferocious mouth slowly split open, revealing a cruel smile. I'll kill you, and the soul will be mine as well. Oh no, Shu's expression slightly changed. It's over. This jerk intends to deceive him. Scamming has encountered a robber. Heh, you want to negotiate with me? Bellistra sneered coldly, slowly raising his battle knife. That's reality. Without strength, you don't even have the qualifications to negotiate. Now, Bellistra is ready to kill this audacious human in front of him. Take away this rare and pure soul, but he hasn't made a move yet. A dazzling white light suddenly appeared. You damn it. Black eating black has come to me. Shu was also very annoyed. He had been hunting geese all day and ended up being pecked by a goose. Seeing Bellistra preparing to make a move, Shu didn't hesitate to activate the exorcism ritual on the card. A burst of white light. Even Bellistra, who was powerful enough to be a half-step godfather, couldn't change his fate of being forcibly expelled. Since there's no room for negotiation, fine. Then let's all stop playing. Shu flipped the table. Although the exorcism ritual had been activated, Shu, who never held grudges, was still a little angry. This jerk. Just as Bellistra was enveloped in the white light, about to be expelled. Shu suddenly rushed forward. In the fastest speed, he grabbed Bellistra's battle knife. Bellistra looked at this scene in shock. But before it could speak, the white light completely engulfed it. Not only that, a flash of white light quickly spread from the dark realm. In almost an instant, on the battlefield, including Bellistra, all the demons, without exception, were expelled by the white light. Disappeared without a trace, as if they had never been here. Where did these demons go? Captain America and the others were confused. If it weren't for the ruins around them, they would even suspect that they had experienced an illusion. This is the array for expelling the Lord of Hell. The Sorcerer Supreme has arrived. Daniel the magician, who was seriously injured, looked around with great effort. Because in his opinion, only the Ancient One on Earth could set up such a level of array. But he looked around for a long time and didn't see the Ancient One's figure. Finally, everyone's gaze turned to the black sphere in midair. Even the most clueless person could now guess that the disappearance of the demons must be related to this black sphere. What happened inside? That human named Modu. And Bellistra too. What exactly did they do inside? With everyone's doubts in their hearts, the dark sphere composed of countless shadows began to dissipate. The shadows of each object returned to their original positions. Hulk's shadow. Come back. Seeing their shadows return, Hulk happily acted like a child, well, or rather, it only had the intelligence of a child. But the others were different from Hulk. Everyone was nervous. All eyes were fixed on the gradually shrinking dark domain, afraid that in the next second, they would see Ballast's figure from inside again. Soon, as the dark domain became smaller and smaller, a sharp object appeared first. It's that guy's sword. Hawkeye instantly became vigilant, because he recognized that it was Ballast's battle sword. Swish. The others were also on high alert. Even the severely injured Daniel had to stand up and release a defensive magic. Wait. Something seems off. As the dark domain became smaller and smaller, everyone finally realized that behind the sword, which was over 10 meters long, was not Ballast, but a normal-sized human. It's Mordo. Iron Man breathed a sigh of relief. But he still couldn't let his guard down because they were not sure whether Mordo was an enemy or a friend. After all, he was scarier than those demons just now. Apologies, Abbott. You want to leave without leaving anything behind? Shu floated in the air, stepping on his own shadow. And in his hand, he held Ballast's battle sword. Just now, in the moment of expulsion, Ballast, who was suppressed and unable to resist, could only watch as Shu took the sword from his hand. But isn't this thing a bit too long? Shu held the sword with both hands and swung it a few times. The length of this thing, it was nearly 10 times his height. The handle was like a pillar, impossible to grasp with just one hand. If only it could be smaller. As soon as he finished speaking, Ballast's battle sword suddenly ignited. From the blade to the handle, it was all burning with raging hellfire. Immediately after, Shu saw the sword visibly shrinking at a rapid speed. Seeing this scene, only one name popped into Shu's mind. Is it you? The Ruyi Jingu Bang. The entire sword kept burning? Until it was only about 2 meters long, the flames gradually stopped. Now, when Shu swung the sword, he felt extremely comfortable. Good stuff. I guess Ballast must be dumbfounded by now, right? Shu grinned. Then he looked down at the Avengers Alliance and others below. Stepping on his own shadow, like walking down stairs, Shu descended from the air step by step. Shadow magic could turn shadows into substance. Rounding it off, isn't it just like walking on air? Hello, everyone? Shu landed on the ground. Looking at the Avengers Alliance members in a sorry state, a bright smile appeared on his face. Taking advantage of Tony Stark's inattention, Shu swiftly took out his phone and snapped a photo of the other party looking embarrassed. Then he turned around and created an account. With these exclusive photos and videos, wouldn't he become a mega internet celebrity in a matter of minutes? Ahem, hello. Seeing that Shu had no ill intentions, the Avengers Alliance finally breathed a sigh of relief. This battle was incredibly difficult, much more so than the New York battle a few months ago. If it weren't for a magician who came to help midway, there would probably have been casualties by now. Mentioning the magician, Captain America finally remembered. That guy seemed to be more seriously injured than them. Are you okay, Mr. Magician? Call me Daniel. Daniel lay on the ground. There was a huge wound on his left shoulder blade. If it had gone a little further down, it would have reached his heart. Fortunately, the magicians from Kamar Taj are skilled in both magic and physical training, so their bodies are strong enough. Otherwise, Daniel would have been done for a long time ago. But he wasn't in good shape now either. Although the wound was temporarily sealed with magic and treated, Daniel's face was still pale due to excessive blood loss. Yes, even a black person's face can turn pale. So, you're that kid, right? Daniel looked at Shu with a resentful gaze. Huh? Shu obviously didn't understand what Daniel was saying. Daniel didn't explain either. He struggled to stand up and released a teleportation spell. Come visit the holy place in New York when you have time. After saying that, Daniel walked into the portal. As he left, it seemed like he was still muttering something. Do I have a grudge with him? I don't even know him. Shu was a bit confused. At this moment, as the battle ended, the group of freeloaders that Tony Stark mentioned finally arrived and began the cleanup work. The good news was, after experiencing the New York battle, the people of America were experienced in post-battle cleanup. But the bad news was that the area destroyed in this battle was slightly larger than last time. Several blocks were destroyed. The impact extended from Manhattan all the way to Hell's Kitchen. The economic losses were incalculable. But none of this had anything to do with Shu. He just wanted to go home and continue his lazy life. But before that, there was one small matter to resolve. Modu, are you really not considering joining us, the Avengers? Don't worry. We're different from organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. We will never interfere with your personal life. Your privacy and freedom will be protected. Tony Stark praised the Avengers endlessly, extending one olive branch after another. After experiencing this battle, this playboy and genius inventor finally realized the importance of top combat power. So he kept trying to recruit Shu. First of all, my name is not Modu. Secondly, I have no intention of joining any organization. Shu showed no interest in Iron Man's recruitment. Join the Avengers? As a superhero? What a waste of time. I'd rather play a few ranked games and earn some points. Or summon 2 demons from hell and watch them fight. Natasha Romanoff, why don't you try persuading him? Seeing that Shu was unyielding, Tony ran to Black Widow's side, hoping that this beautiful agent could use her charm. After all, he couldn't resist it back then. Get lost. Black Widow replied with just one word. Unlike the naive Tony Stark, Black Widow knew very well. Someone like Shu, a person with such great strength. They will definitely not be easily recruited just by a few tricks. A strong person, they must have their own principles. Black Widow stared at Shu's figure as he walked further away, her beautiful eyes shimmering. Someone who shares the same idea as Black Widow is Nick Fury. The director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he also had the idea of recruiting Shu. Inside the sky carrier, looking at the figure on the screen getting further away. In Nick Fury's remaining eye, there was a strong desire flickering. If they could recruit such a powerful person, there would be no enemy they couldn't deal with. Director, do you need me to intervene? Beside him, Agent Hill noticed Nick Fury's thoughts. As the second most attractive agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., apart from Black Widow, Agent Hill asks if she should use her charm to approach the target. But Nick Fury shook his head. Alright. I'll contact Romanoff and hope that she is still willing to work for us. Seeing Nick Fury shake his head, Agent Hill thought he was going to assign this mission to Black Widow. But Nick Fury shook his head again. Neither. The biggest taboo with someone like him is to play tricks on him. Wisdom shone in Nick Fury's one eye. His thoughts were the same as Black Widow's. With someone as powerful as this, using tricks or seduction would be completely unnecessary. Any slight mistake would be a path to self-destruction. So who do you plan to send? Agent Hill asks. Nick Fury didn't answer, but instead tapped the screen in front of him twice. A kind-faced bald man appeared on the screen. Phil Coulson, the bearer of face fruit, comes with the ability, plus 50 likability. Phil Coulson? Indeed, no one is more suitable than him. Seeing it was Phil Coulson, Agent Hill nodded. Remember, with someone like him, only sincerity can move hearts. Nick Fury stared at Shu's disappearing figure on the screen. He said with certainty, on the other side. Shu, who had left the battlefield, returned to his house in Queens. He had no idea that his departure had led Black Widow and Nick Fury to imagine all sorts of things. What do you mean a strong person must have principles? What do you mean only sincerity can move hearts? If Shu knew about Nick Fury and Black Widow's thoughts, he would only have one thought. Damn it, why don't you give it a try then? If you don't try, how would you know I don't like seduction tactics? And there's Tony Stark, talking about freedom and privacy and all that nonsense. Just tell me how much money you're offering, damn it. A bunch of lunatics. Shu shook his head, very skeptical of their recruitment. Wait, did I forget something? Speaking of money. Shu suddenly remembered. In his haste to leave, it seemed like he left the money he exchanged with the Mexican in the warehouse. Damn it. 10 million from labor. In times of crisis, people often unleash their limits. This time, Shu released the teleportation magic in less than 0.01 seconds. Then he jumped in. A few seconds later, the same black hole appeared again. Shu slowly emerged from it, holding several heavy boxes in his hands. Fortunately, no one took them, got the money. Shu breathed a sigh of relief and walked towards the house. Fortunately, the battle did not affect this area. To be precise, the entire Queen's district did not suffer any damage. However, nearby residents responded to the call and temporarily evacuated the area. When Shu came back, the entire community was empty except for him. The Parker family next door had also evacuated. Back home, Shu threw the large boxes of money and jewelry he had obtained this time, along with the 2 suitcases from last time, into the house. Looking at the stacks of cash and jewelry in the large boxes, Shu had a satisfied smile on his face. Maybe he was a squirrel in his previous life. Shu had a strong addiction to collecting, especially collecting small change. I can live without spending it, but I can't live without it. Time passed quietly. That night, the news about the demon invasion was broadcasted on TV. The media collectively referred to this battle as the Second New York War. But compared to the First New York War, after this battle, the public's attitude towards the Avengers underwent a drastic change. To be precise, they thought the Avengers were useless. The Avengers can't defeat those demons at all. Where's Thor? Where's Thor? If it weren't for the mysterious magician and demon hunter, we might have died long ago. That's right. Where's Thor? Especially that rich kid Tony Stark, he's not worthy of being a superhero. I think the Avengers did their best. No, I just want to ask, where's Thor? The interviews with the public on TV confirmed the change in people's attitudes. As a species, humans have 2 major hobbies, creating gods and pulling gods off their pedestals. Obviously, the performance of the Avengers this time did not satisfy people. Some questioned Tony Stark, who had made great contributions in the previous war. Others kept asking where Thor was and why he didn't show up for such a big event. Of course, there were also rational people who believed that the Avengers had done their best, but the enemy was too powerful. But all of this, Shu, sitting in front of the TV, didn't care. After watching the entire report, only one thing caught his attention. They call me the Demon Hunter? Isn't this name a bit low in style? That's right, Shu only cared about his title. After all, who would bother to worry about others for no reason? Shu lay comfortably on the sofa in a very relaxed posture, with his legs crossed to the side. The shadows of the surrounding objects quickly solidified into 2 shadow soldiers, who then began to massage Shu's legs. I have to admit, Shadow Fiend's ability is indeed useful. While enjoying himself, Shu skillfully took out his phone, preparing to gain some points. Perhaps it was because a major event happened today. The number of players online in the game noticeably decreased. He waited in line for a long time. Shu finally got into a match. The number 1 player in the American server, Batman, is here. Please make way, 3rd floor. A name, Shu A origin, unknown. A age, unknown. A ability, inadequate data, unable to analyze. Phil Coulson looked at the information in front of him, looking confused. Except for a name, everything else was unknown or unable to be analyzed due to insufficient data. There was almost no valuable information. Oh, Nick Fury asked me to tell you. The name Shu might be a fake identity like Mordo's, so be careful in identifying it. As for the rest, you'll have to figure it out yourself. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Agent Hill finished speaking. Feeling a bit absurd, she quickly found an excuse and left. Thankfully, this ghostly task didn't fall on her. Looking at Hill's disappearing figure, Phil Coulson sighed slowly. Sometimes, it's better for a person to be dead. At least Deadman wouldn't be assigned such a lousy task by his superior. So this task falls on our team's shoulders? Grant Ward picked up the information on the table. He, along with Melinda May, a level 7 agent, researcher Gemma Simmons, researcher Leo Fitz, and the recently joined Asian female hacker, Sky, all belonged to Phil Coulson's special operations team. No, this task falls solely on me. Phil Coulson took back the information from Grant Ward's hand. Looking at it again, it still felt absurd. Besides a bunch of unknowns, the information also recorded one of the target's hobbies. Playing games. Isn't this just a gaming nerd? Phil Coulson had a headache. Throughout his agent career, he had encountered all kinds of people. From heinous criminals to individuals with various personalities and super abilities, but never a gaming nerd. A gaming nerd? I'm familiar with this. How about I go and make contact with this person? Sky, the newly joined female hacker, immediately became interested upon hearing the words, gaming nerd. As a beautiful and sweet-voiced female hacker, Sky knew those stinky gamers very well. As long as she took action, she guaranteed to confuse the target. No, this is my personal mission. Phil Coulson decisively rejected Sky's volunteering. And the mission regulations clearly state that methods like seduction are not allowed. Upon hearing this, Sky could only sit back in disappointment. But I've already figured out how to approach the target. Phil Coulson closed the information, his eyes filled with confidence. I will make friends through combat. The next 3 days, Chu Shu's journey to climb the ranks suddenly became incredibly smooth. For some reason, these 3 days, he would always be matched with an ID called, "Your Bald Little Baby." And every time, they would be teammates. "You played well, bald little baby. Just now, you flashed over to help me block the skill, you blocked it well." Chu Shu's face was filled with a joyful smile. That was the joy of someone who fought together, absorbed damage in team fights, helped with lane control, shared resources, and saved the day with Flash. Ever since he was matched with Bald Little Baby. 3 days, Chu Shu climbed 2 big divisions. He had now become a respected glory player. So, as one would expect, Chu Shu sent a friend request to "Your Bald Little Baby." But when he clicked on the opponent's profile after adding them as a friend, Chu Shu was dumbfounded. In the section about Bald Little Baby's information, it was written in bold, "Real name Phil Coulson, level 8 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., currently serving as the leader of a special operations team, currently residing in New York." On the profile of a game account, it actually had the detailed information of a high-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Detailed to the point that Chu Shu almost thought this was someone's prank. But when he looked at the name on top, Phil Coulson. Isn't this guy supposed to be dead, stabbed by Loki in Avengers Alliance? Chu Shu realized after he finished speaking. The world he was in was not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it also included American TV shows. In the TV show, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Phil Coulson, who was supposed to be dead, was revived by SHIELD's Tahiti project, and even formed a team. Speaking of this team, Chu Shu remembered there was a pretty Asian girl in it. Her name seemed to be Sky. It seems like S.H.I.E.L.D. arranged for Phil Coulson to contact me. Do they want to recruit me? Chu Shu wasn't stupid. Especially when the other party openly told you that they were a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. If you still couldn't guess the other party's intentions, then it wouldn't be justifiable. Although Chu Shu already knew the purpose of Phil Coulson contacting him, he didn't have much aversion to it. After all, the other party was too sincere. Not only did they write their entire profile on their face, but they also let Chu Shu have fun for 3 days, in the game. However, Chu Shu had a small question. If S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to recruit me, why did they send this bald old man Phil Coulson? What about Sky? And Black Widow? And that female assistant next to Nick Fury? Just based on this, S.H.I.E.L.D. can forget about recruiting me in this lifetime. After mentally sentencing S.H.I.E.L.D. to death, Chu Shu picked up his phone and sent a message to Bald Little Baby. Let's climb the ranks. That's right, Chu Shu planned to freeload. He couldn't join S.H.I.E.L.D., but he still had to climb the ranks. On the other side, Phil Coulson was using the ID, Bald Little Baby. He had just won a match with the #1 Batman in the US server. Beside him, the hacker Sky. She was typing code on the keyboard at a rapid pace. "Boss, the previous script got detected. I rewrote a new one. Be careful this time, don't go too far, just act a little, otherwise, you might get banned." Sky finished typing the code. Raise your head and look at Phil Coulson beside you, using the speed of an elderly person's hands to tap the screen. But the character in the game can press 5 keys in 1.5 seconds, crazily moving and using skills. "Boss, is this what you call making friends through martial arts?" Sky felt like she had joined a very unreliable organization. After all, who would cheat to gain points? "I have to remind you, boss, that this game has a matchmaking mechanism. If you get caught, not only will your account be banned, but your teammates who play with you will also be banned." Looking at Phil Coulson's pages of undefeated records, Sky couldn't help but remind him, but Phil Coulson obviously didn't hear Sky's reminder. "First, Batman, I'll help you counter squat. Batman, come eat the red, come eat the blue. The enemy is low on health, I'll give you the kill." Soon, the game ended, as the word, "victory," appeared. The opponent's chat also appeared on the screen. "This game is rigged, it's rigged. during the 3 days when Chu Shu and Phil Coulson were crazily gaining points. The Disaster Control Bureau, established after the First New York battle, had also completed the initial cleanup after the war. Most of the evacuated New York citizens had returned to their homes. Perhaps out of habit. Even though there were ruins just a few hundred meters away, the New York citizens continued to live their lives as usual. Going to work when they should, slacking off when they should. But in other places, the negative effects of the Great Battle were still fermenting. The first to bear the brunt was the New York authorities. The astronomical economic losses made people's scalps tingle. The losses were too great, someone had to take the blame. In the end, that blame fell on S.H.I.E.L.D. after all. The original purpose of SHIELD's establishment was to prevent such incidents from happening. Boss, the council has reduced the budget for the Insight program again. They are blaming us for this loss. News from the ground headquarters, the construction of 3 aircraft carriers may be delayed again. Inside the aircraft carrier, Nick Fury listened to Hill's report with a not-so-pleasant expression. These days, SHIELD's life was not easy, not to mention the trivial matters of post-war cleanup. Just the appearance of demons and magicians during the battle was enough to give people a headache. Have you found that magician named Daniel? No. We searched through the database, compared every face, but still couldn't find him. Hearing another piece of bad news, Nick Fury's face had turned as black as a lump of coal. But fortunately, there was still hope. What about Phil Coulson? Has he made any progress? Nick Fury was full of anticipation. After all, Phil Coulson was the most capable and resourceful person under him. As long as he could recruit that person, any problem at hand would no longer be an issue. Well, boss, Phil Coulson did send back a message. Agent Hill held a translucent iPad, with a hesitant expression on her face, hesitating whether to say it or not. Phil Coulson reports that he spent 3 days helping the target gain 2 major ranks, and they are currently both in the glory rank. What? I'm telling you, Phil Coulson. At this rate, in 2 more days, we'll be able to rank up to king. After playing a few games, Chu Shu and Phil Coulson have also revealed their identities. Phil Coulson's sincerity has paid off, and Chu Shu doesn't dislike this S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. After all, in his eyes, whether you're S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra, as long as you can help me rank up, then you're a good agent. Chu Shu, are you sure you don't consider joining S.H.I.E.L.D.? The Snake Shield Bureau? It's S.H.I.E.L.D., previously known as the National Strategic Security Defense. Stop, we're playing a game, can you not talk about those boring things? Phil Coulson looked at the messages on his phone with helplessness. Whenever the topic comes up, Chu Shu always has this attitude. Perfunctory, but not explicitly refusing. Just fishing, making himself accompany him to rank up. But to be honest, Phil Coulson doesn't actually dislike playing games. After all, it's a form of entertainment. But playing games all the time will have a negative impact. Ding ding ding, there, the phone rang again. Phil Coulson didn't need to look to know who was calling. And Phil Coulson also knew what the other person wanted to say. It must be something like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is paying you, not for you to play games, you need to recruit targets, and so on. Ah, Phil Coulson sighed, looking at the phone vibrating continuously next to him, and the game on this side already entering the team selection phase. In the end, evil grows from the heart. Phil Coulson directly hung up Nick Fury's call. Rank up, rank up. However, while Chu Shu and Phil Coulson were ranking up all night. Outside, in the community where Chu Shu was, the shadow under the streetlight suddenly flickered. Roar, roar, roar. Some dog from who knows where suddenly started barking towards a certain direction. The next second, a pitch-black spear flew over. The dog's barking abruptly stopped. Then, the dim shadow under the streetlight began to solidify, bit by bit. Finally, the shadow completely solidified, turning into a shadow soldier wielding dual blades. The shadow soldier started moving, silently passing through the gate and entering Chu Shu's home. Cut AD. Watch your positioning, don't get caught by the enemy Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. Inside the house, Chu Shu's voice was filled with excitement. Seemingly engaged in a crucial team fight, the shadow soldier held a sharp blade, silently and quickly approached. No breath, no footsteps. When it reached Chu Shu's back, he was still playing the game. Seeing this, the shadow soldier didn't hesitate at all. The blade in his hand stabbed out like lightning, aiming directly at Chu Shu's vulnerable spot from behind. Almost at the same moment, Chu Shu also won the team fight in the game and destroyed the enemy's base. Victory. When the word, victory, appeared on the screen, Chu Shu's gaze turned cold. Boom! A huge black hand suddenly appeared. From top to bottom, it grabbed the shadow soldier who was attacking from behind. At some point, a huge shadow monster appeared in Chu Shu's room. Human body, dog head, and the appearance of the dog head was clearly the pet dog that was just killed. Eat it. Chu Shu gave the order. The monster with a human body and a dog head immediately swallowed the shadow soldier in its hand. The shadow soldier disappeared instantly, and the size of the monster slightly increased. Seeking revenge for the master? Chu Shu stood up and looked outside the window. The attacker was using the same shadow energy as him. There was no need to guess. This must have been obtained from the shadow demon Sarko. However, this shadow power was extremely impure, murky, and rough, not at all pure. Compared to the energy inside Chu Shu, it was like heaven and earth. If Chu Shu's shadow energy was 24K pure gold, then the attacker's energy was like a pile of sand mixed with a few grains of gold sand. So stingy. Give such a small amount of power, and you expect me to risk my life? Chu Shu sneered. His figure slowly disappeared into the darkness. Outside the community, 3 disciples of the shadow demon. Incredibly, they looked at their fallen teammate beside them. Each of them can only summon 1 shadow soldier, and this shadow soldier is highly bound to them. If one is damaged, all are damaged, now that their teammate has fallen. It means that the shadow soldier they summoned has also died. How is this possible? Why didn't the warrior of the shadow god kill that blasphemer? The 3 disciples of the shadow demon were shocked. In their minds, the shadow soldier is an invincible existence. Impossible to be killed, impossible to fail. But now, no, we must fulfill the command of the shadow god, this blasphemer must die. Praise the darkness, praise the darkness, praise the darkness. The 3 disciples of the shadow demon each summoned their own shadow soldiers. Preparing to complete their mission, just at this moment, a complete darkness suddenly struck. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the entire area. This feeling, after a brief shock from being surrounded by the domain of darkness, they immediately greeted it with ecstasy. It's the god of darkness. The god of darkness has descended. Ha ha ha, praise the darkness, praise the darkness. Watching the 3 of them dancing in their own domain of darkness, Chu Shu, who was originally prepared to kill them directly, suddenly had another idea. Cough cough. With a light cough, Chu Shu dispelled the darkness and appeared in front of the 3. Praise the darkness. Looking at Chu Shu who suddenly appeared, the 3 were stunned for a second. Then they collectively reacted. Blasphemer. You're the real blasphemer. I'm actually the envoy of Sarko, also known as the god of shadows in your mouths, the representative on earth. Chu Shu's face was serious, but the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. You can't directly call the name of a god. That's something you can't do. I am the representative of Sarko on earth, and I have a good relationship with it. Don't believe me? Look. Can a blasphemer possess such pure shadow energy? Chu Shu said with certainty. At the same time, a pitch-black shadow energy appeared in his palm. Sure enough, just as expected, when this incredibly pure shadow energy appeared again, the eyes of the 3 became somewhat confused. Indeed, besides the one given by the god of shadows, who else can obtain such pure shadow energy? It couldn't possibly be obtained through deception or theft, right? But we received a revelation from the god of shadows, telling us to kill you? It's fake. Don't believe it. That's a false decree from other evil gods, specifically deceiving you fools. But I'm different. After all, shadow energy doesn't lie, understand? After listening to Chu Shu's words, the 3 nodded in confusion. It seems. What he said makes sense. After understanding, the 3 of them knelt down with a thump. Great envoy, please forgive our audacity. It's all right. I forgive you. Chu Shu's face was filled with satisfaction. Then, he took the 3 to his own garage and went back to the house to make a phone call. Hello, Phil Coulson? Yes, it's me. I've caught a few cultists.